Voter suppression is the baseline that determines whether your voice is heard, whether the values and the policies that you want ever come to fruition. We have to recognize that voter suppression is no longer the images from the 1960s or the laws of the 1960s that forbade voting for African Americans or the denial to Native Americans of citizenship until 1924. What we're talking about is whether you can register and stay on the rolls, whether you can cast your ballot, and whether your ballot is counted. And we have to think about that entire spectrum, because over the last 20 years, we have seen numerous laws propagated that have eroded your ability to do those things, especially if you're in a marginalized community, a community of color, or from a community that is seen as less valuable to the Republican Party.
Because you say it's no longer hoses.
It isn't.
It's no longer hoses in the streets.
It's much more insidious. These laws look racially and facially neutral, meaning if you just talk about them in public, everyone thinks, oh, that's a great idea.
Race neutral, good. Yeah.
But then you realize that, for example, in North Dakota, they passed a law saying you have to have a residential address on your driver's license. Most Native Americans do not have residential addresses because they live on reservations. Therefore, they disenfranchise thousands of Native Americans. We have to think about not only what the law says, but what the law does, and that's what we're trying to tackle.
Good evening. Thank you to the National Action Network for this honor and for celebrating the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and his fight to ensure that this nation lived up to its highest ideals. Since its inception, National Action Network and its founder, the Reverend Al Sharpton, have worked tirelessly to uplift marginalized communities and ensure that everyone in our democracy is served. NAN operates in the spirit and tradition of Dr. King to protect the civil rights of communities that are often unseen and unheard. Empowering the communities that are often forgotten and left behind is the foundation of the work that I do. I'm the daughter of two civil rights activists, the Reverends Carolyn and Robert Abrams, who believe that having nothing is not an excuse for doing nothing. They made service a way of life for me and my 5 siblings. If someone was in need, it was our job to serve that person. This ethic of service undergirds my commitment to protect the right to vote, ensure an accurate count in the census, and broaden economic power in the South through my organizations Fair Fight, Fair Count, and the Southern Economic Advancement Project. Despite the persistent attacks on our democracy and the stubborn realities of systemic injustice, I know more is possible. I have faith in the voters, organizers, volunteers, and others who lift their voices and work their hands to ensure a more perfect union. They know that when we fight, we win. So let's get it done. Thank you again to the National Action Network for this honor.